And this is also a good opportunity for me to introduce Margus Uudam, who's running Karma Ventures. And I've always wondered, you've actually told me the story before, but so why Karma? Are you also lacking something there?
Yes, so we have thought a lot later on as to why it's Karma, actually. But you know, one of the investors, when we were fundraising, one of the investors refused to give us money until we have, you know, proper name for the fund. We just labeled ourselves as Newco, and it didn't work. And the investment director was from India. Anyway, we didn't see the connection yet, but three partners of us, we thought, what is a great name? And one of us said, it has to be international, but not English. I said, it has to have R in it, because R is kind of strong. And we have one Finn in a team as well, and, you know, in a pub after, you know, suddenly he started yelling, Karma, Karma!
That's how
I
you
said,
found your name.
you don't know anything about Karma. It will be definitely not Karma, but now we are Karma.
So I was on your website the other day, and I was looking at the investments you made so far, and things were kind of blurry. So I was wondering if something was wrong with my internet connection, or
you know, the early stage is always a bit blurry.
Okay, so fake it till you make it.
Yeah, so we have signed so far 5 investments from C to A rounds, but all of them are not really published yet. So 2 of them are published, and we hope 1 will publish today.
Wow, so we're in for big announcements.
Yes, more to come.
Okay, and we will hear a pitch from 7 Baltic startups now.
Yes.
So
part of Baltics.
Okay.
So
so not all 3 Baltic states are covered?
Imagine what? No.
So which one is missing?
Lithuania.
Why is that? Lithuanians in the hall, raise your hands.
1.
Okay, we need to.
I'm not counting.
We need to do something about it. So let's hear the pitches, and or I'll just hand it over to you, and hopefully next year the situation will be better.
So we really wanted to present, you know, the Baltic startups. Usually pitching events are about very early stage, but the investors are always looking for growth stage and later stage as well. But usually, the startups who are doing revenues are not showing up on stages, not that much anymore. So we wanted to show, you know, the best ones in the Baltics, and we reached out to all of them. And you know what? Only Estonians and Latvians showed up. Later on the slides, you can see Lithuanians are mostly exited. So, and the rest of them are just very busy on building up the revenues. But to make it fair, I definitely want to give a bit of overview to show that, you know, not only Estonia and Latvia has great ecosystem and number of startups, there is Lithuania as well. All the data is based on the numbers are light, and obviously they're wrong. So they're based on crowdsourced data, and some of them are Crunchbase based. So take them as ballpark figures. Overall, if you look at the Crunchbase, the Baltic has listed 1,010 startups. And these are the companies which relate themselves to somehow to Baltic countries. Some are domiciled outside of Baltics, but they have operations in Baltics and so on. And in Estonia, 466, Latvia 208, Lithuania 336. But I guess if you multiply it with 1.3 to 1.5, you might get the real figure also the very early stage. And during the last 7 years, the Baltic startups have raised in total over 700 million euros. So if you take one early stage fund, 30 to 100 million, who needs to invest within 5 years, there are like, you know, 5 to 10 funds who could fully deploy in Baltics. So the number of opportunities is pretty good. And if you look at the years since 2010, something picked up heavily in 2014, 15, 16, pretty good as well. 17 has started super well. So, and Estonia has been a bit dominating the scene, but Latvia, Lithuania are catching up really fast. Top 20 companies based on crowdsourced data. The first one is actually Latvian. Estonia, Lithuania, all in top 3. And then again, equally, Lithuania, Latvia, bunch of Estonians. Lithuanians actually mostly exited. And the top numbers, you know, raising close to 100 million. So at the same time, the kind of early stage startup ecosystems are pretty well developed in Baltics. Really happy what we see here. But number of funds who are actively investing in Baltics is, let's say, based in Baltics, the number is pretty small. So, and some of them are fully invested by now, some of them are fundraising, but the landscape will change substantially. So only in Estonia, there will be 2 more incubators, accelerators, writing seed tickets. There will be 1 venture fund focusing fully on Estonia. Baltic, well-known private equity investor, is setting up growth fund / venture fund. Chains Ventures launched or going to be launched very soon, going to do up to 500,000 euros investment tickets, super needed in Baltics and in very, very right spot. And the same is happening in Latvia and Lithuania as well. So the early stage funding will be completely in a different place in 2 years. So obviously the growth is not dependent only on local investors. The big names have found Baltics. And what is happening quite lately, they all, or most of them, they are dedicating certain people from their team to Baltic countries. They come over quite often. And you might think, you know, Atomico or, you know, Index, they probably write large tickets only. They have also adjusted their ticket sizes for Baltics. So they're happy to consider also 1 million investments early stage to be here and support early. Exits, they still happen. No IPOs yet, past 7 years, 24 trade sales. And you might recognize the names: Rakuten, Stratasys, Xilinx, Shopify, Monsanto, and so on. So all the good names I have noticed Baltics and looking innovation here. Now, a little bit of sneak peek what we have done. During last year, we have reviewed over 1,233 startups all over Europe. And 17% of them have been from Baltics. Namely Estonia 100, Latvia 56, Lithuania 47, but catching up very well. And in terms of stages, what you could see, which we believe that represents pretty well the kind of Baltic scene. Most of the opportunities, on the left side, you have total pipeline, on the right side, you have Baltic. So relatively more in Baltics is coming out of seed stage. And 18% of the pipeline is A rounds, which is actually a pretty good number. Obviously more pre-seed in Baltics than from the total pipeline. In terms of the source, we go to many events. And that's why events is one of our key source for meeting you and making the contacts early. But we rely very much on our network as well. Introductions is a big part of it. Also a little bit cold inbound and warm inbound, the people we know before. And in terms of the focus areas or the areas, so of course software is dominating. But what is a bit surprising, Baltic countries, being one of the smallest in Europe, are pretty active on building up marketplaces, something you necessarily wouldn't expect. Also a bit of hardware and then rest software hardware combined. So I think it gives a kind of sneak peek on what's happening in the Baltics in terms of numbers. There is a lot to do, and the landscape will change a lot in coming years. So, but now going to 7 or 8 best startups in Baltic, which are in growth phase, doing revenues, growing well. So, and the next one, the first one, is Monese, which is fintech startup enabling you to open bank account on your mobile phone in minutes. So, tell us what will happen to our nice, beautiful, and expensive brick and mortar.
Thank you, Mauris. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So serving the needs of others is the only legitimate business today. I want to start by telling you a short story about a man named A.P. Gianni. Back in 1904, he converted a small saloon in California into a bank. This bank was known as the Bank of Italy. He focused on serving Italian immigrants that were rejected by mainstream banks. He said that he was going to offer savings accounts and loans not based on the customer's wealth, but by their character. And by the first day, deposits hit $9,000. Within the year, they hit $700,000. To put that in perspective, in today's money, that's about $220,000 to $18 million. So that's pretty good growth for year one. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the story, but this bank is now known as the Bank of America. So it brings me on to Monese and kind of how our journey is not too dissimilar from A.P. Gianni's. In a recent MasterCard report that was published, I read there was 138 million people in Europe still without access to a bank account. Our founder, Mauris, when he came over to the UK from Estonia, was one of these people. I don't know if any of you have had this experience, but if you do come over to the UK, it's bloody hard to get a bank account. We have this catch-22 that says if you don't have a bank account, you can't buy or rent a home. And if you don't have a home, you can't have a bank account. It's our archaic banking system at its finest. So let me explain what we did in brief to try and solve the problem. We had a vision, as I'm sure most do, and that was to create global, on-demand mobile banking. We wanted to create a situation where anyone could have access to banking services regardless of financial status, of their residence, or lifetime value that they'd bring as a customer. From that vision, Monese was born. So what did we achieve? Well, we achieved making the laborious and tedious task of getting lucky enough to have a bank account, and we said, we don't want you to have proof of address from where you're residing. We didn't want you to have to wait weeks for your application to be processed. And we didn't want to have to require a credit history that would mean we could determine if we were going to make money from you as a customer. And we made it instant. So how do we do it? Well, we use modern technology, which I'm sure comes as a big shock to everyone here as we're talking at a tech conference. But we did it using that. If we come back to the first iPhone 10 years ago or so, it had a rear view camera of about 2 megapixels. And these could take pretty amazing photos. We're now 10 years down the line, and these are now 8 times more powerful. I came to Estonia yesterday, and I flew in through Helsinki. There's not many direct flights to Estonia. And I came through, and I had to go through the biometric verification. As most airports are moving to this, obviously, it's a better way to do it. And the question is, why are we doing it? Well, humans are the single weakest link in the security process. We now have the technology that's capable of analyzing these documents, taking a photo of your face, and comparing it within seconds. So that's what we did. We took this technology, we then took the data from what the customer would enter when they tried to set up an account, and then we had to compare this across data sources all around the world, and when we had a match, boom, welcome to neobanking. And that was done in minutes. So there's obviously challenges that we face. There's a certain type of criminal that's attracted to a banking service. Maybe not the type of criminal shoving 50-euro notes into sausage rolls, but to be honest, this is the best photo I could find. So we're members of a lot of anti-fraud, anti-money laundering, and counter-terrorist data sharing networks that allows us to make sure that people aren't signing up for us if they're on these lists or they have a black mark against their identity. But obviously, being an innovative tech startup, we wouldn't just stop there. We gather data on the way that these individuals behave and the way that they act before they commit a crime, and we built systems in-house that can fingerprint the way that they do this so we can catch people before they even have a chance. And of course, as time goes on, we gather more data, and this gets better and better. So we have a monthly fee. We want that to be as transparent as possible. We all know, or I hope we know, that banks were putting fees and charges into things to make sure we have money. So they'd have hidden transactional fees, or they'd have an overdraft control, or they'd have upselling products to try and make some money off you. We thought we wanted to put a monthly fee that represented what everyday banking should be. And that's why we came up with this. The best realization is what we came up with was we saw that 75%, that's old, 75% of our customers were using it as their main account. They were getting their salary paid into it. And what did that mean? Well, we were solving the issue we set out to fix. That we were giving these people access to a bank service and they were using just us. So similar to Gianni's quote at the start, where I said, serving the needs of others is the only legitimate business today, is where I think we're on the path to doing. We're creating a system that is a one-size-fits-all with no exclusions, creating global, on-demand, mobile banking. Thank you very much.
It was almost faster than 5 minutes.
Almost faster.
So
Well, I wasn't
someone
keeping time.
actually yesterday showed me a card. It was labeled Revolt.
Revolut.
Revolut, right.
Revolut.
So, and he said, this is the future of banking. You're not alone.
No, there's obviously a lot of people in the space. And there's a lot of people trying to get that market. Revolut, they're doing a good thing. They're a good company. But they're slightly going after a different market. They're kind of not taking people who haven't had access to a banking service. They're offering a service where you can use it as an alternative card, and you can use it abroad, you can send money abroad. So people use it as their kind of secondary bank. The market that we're going after is people that are denied access to banking services. So they can come over to the UK or anywhere globally, and they can make the account immediately, and then they have access like that.
You also didn't tell any secrets.
I know. Well,
how many users?
I
How
didn't wanna
quickly you
tell-
grow?
I didn't want to tell all the secrets. I was told that I wasn't allowed to give you all the juicy gossip, but I'm sure that you will find out soon.
Should I tell it?
You can if you want, if you know.
Okay. Any questions from audience? One hand is almost up. Yes, now it's up. Does it kill if I throw?
Hey, thanks for the lovely pitch. I just wanted to question, so how far along is Monese in the global journey? So just how global are you guys at the moment, and what are your plans to globalize more in the near future?
It's a good question. As Margus just said, I didn't want to reveal all the secrets, but as you said, there is obviously a global path that we're going to go on. I will say in the coming months, we definitely will be moving out into another big area of the world. I won't say just where, but it might be easy to guess. And we're very excited about that launch.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Margus. Thank you.
So, the next one is Taxify. And Taxify really surprised all of us here in Baltics, turning taxi industry upside down when I think Uber was already here. And now you have done it also in Africa. So, what's next?
Thanks. Hello, good to be here. I'm Markus Villig, founder of Taxify, and I'll be talking about 5 minutes what we're doing. So many of you might be thinking that this on-demand transport and ride-hailing industry, it has already been here for 3-4 years, and not much exciting things are actually happening. But what we see is that in many parts of the world, the war is just actually getting started. And it's still not clear who's actually going to be the best provider in 5 years to come. So talking about what we do, we see that there's already quite a lot of different players on the market who are trying to offer a great way for people to move on demand wherever they want to go at the tap of a button. Thing is that most players are not doing it as well as they could, not yet. And we see there's something that we can actually improve and do better. So bring in just a few examples. I think you all have heard of a company with 4 letters doing pretty well around the world. Lately what we see is actually there's a growing dissatisfaction against them. And that's exactly a hole that we're filling in Europe and Africa by doing a few things better that I'll be talking about in the next slides. Second, we see that this is a marketplace with 2 sides. So we have passengers, we have drivers. And what we see is that actually the driver side is even more unhappy than the passenger side with the current status quo. There's a lot of drivers who are still driving for old school taxi companies. They're not earning anything feasible. And even the ones who are driving for these new apps are still earning close to minimum wage. They're not happy with their conditions. They can be blocked at any moment. And all of this is happening because there's just no competition. If just one platform is ruling millions of passengers, thousands of drivers, then they can dictate all the rules. And this is not what we think is actually fair and should be happening. So what are we doing? We're actually coming in and doing something that we think is fair and going against the greed. So that means that we are paying the drivers better, so they are actually happy. We're taking less money from the passengers, so they are happy. And most importantly, we're actually doing this all in a friendlier way, so the drivers are actually satisfied with what we're doing. So just bring in a few examples of how far have we gotten with this approach. Today, we've operated for 3.5 years, and we are actually the fastest growing transport company in both Europe and Africa. Many people might think that we're only present in Estonia, but now Estonia is about 10% of all the rides and all the passengers we have, and it's declining very fast because all the other markets are just growing and that much bigger. Just in the last year, we've grown about 7 times in terms of our trips, passengers, revenue, and all of this is just proving that actually the market is turning. This ride-hailing market is not going to be one player takes all, but there will be room for 2 or 3 players to actually balance each other out. So not that one player can actually be greedy and do whatever they want for years to come. And what we see is that passengers and the drivers are voting with their feet. And this is happening faster and faster every month. Talking about the team. So we see that this vision of actually doing something that's fair and better and more efficient is attracting a lot of people. So we already have people from really world-class companies and also tens of people now coming from our main competitor Uber, who also see that what's happening in the company and how you treat drivers and passengers is not right now what it should be, and there should be something better happening. About the long-term vision. So what's happening right now is very simple. We're battling in this very small pool of 2% of all urban traffic. If you think about it, then an average person is traveling 50 times in a month. And right now, 49 times, they're using either public transport or their personal car. And why has it been so low? Mainly because taxis have historically been very expensive, inconvenient, unreliable. And what we see happening now is that more and more people are actually shifting because the parking costs are going up. It's harder and harder for people to park in the cities. And also there's just more and more people who can use public transport, who can use ride-hailing because it's just getting cheaper. So all of this combined, we see that even before autonomous cars arrive, ride-hailing can easily be 10% or 20% of all urban traffic. So it's not like we're stuck in this very small pool, but rather the entire pool of rides is growing and doing fast. And this is actually changing how all of this urban traffic is going around and how people move. So yeah, I hope it was a bit of an overview of what we do and where on-demand transport is going. Thanks.
So drivers are basically earning more money, customers are happy. Is there anything left for you and for your investors as well?
We're actually, I think, one of the only Estonian startups which has been profitable now for 6 months already.
Wow. And what is the pre-money valuation of the next round?
Cannot say anything.
Any questions? Yes? Just wait a bit. Almost.
Oh, thank you. Loving what you do. And I would just like to ask, what is your vision and do you have plans for the autonomous vehicles? When do you think it's going to happen and what you're going to do with it?
If we look at the price of a ride today, then about 70% of it goes to the driver as salary. So of course, the player who's first of all going to be doing autonomous cars will be able to offer the cheapest transport and will win. So definitely that's something that we need to collaborate with different automotive players, with different players who are creating autonomous technology. But we see that platforms are a really critical part to bringing autonomous cars to market. And if we can be the second or third biggest platform, then we have a good positioning to do it.
Yes?
Markus, you've shared that Taxify is growing at an amazing rate, really. So here's the thing, aren't you a bit afraid of becoming the next evil Uber-like corporation, and what are you doing to prevent it in the midterm? So how to avoid becoming the new Uber in terms of how you treat drivers and passengers?
It's inevitable, right?
Well, I think it really comes down to what's the company culture like. And I think just looking at what's the team around us, I mean, I'm 23, most of the company is below 30, we're young. We really actually care about having a good impact and building something for the long term, not just raking in profits and being happy and selling the company, but it's really something we want to do for a long time.
Good. More questions? Yes, one. Pretty back.
Quite many questions for Estonian audience.
They are not all Estonians, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Why I stopped using Uber was I didn't want all the cars on the road, and I think that's one of the biggest backlash it's getting now as well. Have you thought about that? Because if it's working and the cars are there, if there's too many cars, that's also an issue for the city and for the environment. So have you thought about that as future plans?
Sure, great question. At the end of the day, we see that as long as ride-hailing is just carrying one passenger in the car with one driver, it's not efficient and it's actually creating more traffic. But the only way to solve it is just to put many people in the same car. And that's something that only these ride-hailing platforms who have the data can actually do. So even if we look at a small city like Tallinn, there's many hours during the day when there's a lot of people going from the same place to exactly the same destination. So if we put them together in the same car, we can actually remove cars from the road and also save money 30 to 50%. So that's something we're going to be doing in the next years.
Good. Any other? No. Thank you.
Thanks. Clicker.
Oh, aitäh. So all the web services should be great, but sometimes they are not. And this is where actually Plumbr helps out. So Priit.
Thank you. Hi. So think about a website that you're involved with, your company's homepage or a digital service that you're offering. Do you know how many users went away yesterday because that site was too slow? How many of them were frustrated, Googled for a competitor and went there? Or even worse, how many of them got a technical error when browsing your site? Most product owners that we talk to don't know. They say that we have an IT team that takes care of that. And when we ask the IT team, it turns out that they don't know either. They are monitoring servers. They make sure that servers are up, are running, that servers are happy. They don't have any idea how many users even there are, let alone how good experience they get. This is the task for the product owner to know. And yet, when we talk to these end users and ask them what makes a good digital service, or what makes the experience bad, then most research that you might read ends up with one conclusion, that the biggest irritation when using online services is poor performance. This is the #1 reason that gives users a bad experience when using digital services. #2 is content. If you don't have the product that I'm looking for, if you don't have the information that I'm looking for, I walk away with a bad experience. #3 is usability. If I can't understand how the information is organized, or I don't find the site aesthetically pleasing, then again, I get a bad experience. But #1 is performance, because it doesn't matter how awesome content you have or how good usability you have if the site doesn't even load. You get impatient, you go away, you don't see the awesome content that the site owner wants to give you. So that's why in Plumbr we focus on giving confidence to product owners that all users get a good experience from their website. Here's how we do it. We monitor. Plumbr is a website plugin. It takes 1 minute to add to your website, and then it monitors what kind of different interactions people do with your site. So if a user clicks on a button, we will start the stopwatch. The request is sent to the servers, they do their thing, calculate the response is sent back, then we will stop the stopwatch, and the user sees the result on the screen. And we do this for all the different types of interactions that people do. all buttons, all links that are being clicked are measured. At the end of the day, the product owner gets an overview of all different types of activities that people did, how many people there were, which were the buttons, which were the pages that they visited, and how well did these work for the users. What's more, for companies that run on Java-based software, also the servers get their own stopwatches, so that when some button doesn't work for the end users, the IT team will immediately know automatically which server and which line in code was the bottleneck. So that, again, the product owner can be sure that when some part of the website doesn't work well, the IT team will always know how to fix it. They will know what to do. The need for these kinds of monitoring tools is growing. The market size of application performance monitoring tools is measured at $3 billion a year, and it's growing 15–20% each year. When you look at adjacent markets, tools that focus on improving IT operations or business operations so that you could offer better services, then we very easily get to markets that exceed $20–30 billion every year. So we have a lot of work to do, a lot of potential. We started offering this product a year and a half ago. Last year we grew from 9,000 euros monthly recurring revenue to 35, and this year we want to grow to 100,000 euros monthly recurring revenue. Our customer base is quite diverse. The more well-known companies are listed here, but we work with many different kinds of companies, also startups who cannot afford that the early users that use their services get a bad experience and go away. The team behind it has a lot of software development and the digital service development experience. The 4 founders on the left started working on the product already more than 5 years ago. It actually grew out of PhD research, so there's a lot of academic research behind the product. The 5th person, Taavi Kotka, we hired this year. He's the former CIO of the Estonian government, the man behind many governmental e-services and e-residency, and knows how important it is to offer a good customer experience. And his task is to create a system into how we sell software and start building the sales team. We're not raising money at the moment. We have the work laid out for this year, but we are looking for ways to spread the word. So if you're working with people in a product owner role or CIO roles and want to help them, then find me and let's chat. Maybe there's a way to do something together. Thank you. This is it.
Priit, do you know how much happier your customers are after starting using Plumbr?
We do. The hard thing is that business always tells the IT to create new services. And even if the IT knows that there are problems, then they need to solve them in their own time. After starting using Plumbr, the business part, the product owners, they can prioritize. So they can say that we need to fix these things in the current offering and then do the new thing. And that's what makes them happier, because there is no conflict between the business and IT anymore.
How easy it actually to sell? Because you need to be friends with product owners and with IT, and they are, again, not always the best friends. So how you make them friend being outside?
The best trick that we found is to get them to try Plumbr. And when they actually when they try Plumbr, then we close more than 80% of leads. But the hardest challenge for us is getting them to try it. And that's what Taavi will have to figure out, how to do that best.
Right person to delegate to. So any questions from audience? We are ready to throw you a microphone. Yes. It was gentle.
I've used a service called Web Trends a lot. Is that something similar to your company, or is it a totally different type of tracking?
I'm not sure I know this service. Depends on what it does.
Web Trends, it tells you how many hits per page, how many minutes or how long the customer's been on that page, kind of the path that they took to get from one page to the next, that kind of thing.
Got it. There are so many products that focus on visualizing user flow on your site. What almost all of them miss is this evaluating performance. So they will tell you that the user came to the page, spent their 20 seconds, and then went away. You don't know if the reason why they went away was because the page didn't load or because your content didn't work. So Plumbr is the prerequisite to using these kinds of tools that focus on content creation.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Priit.
Thank you.
So the next one is Latvian startup called Branchtrack. Flight simulator for salespeople. So I wonder if salespeople finally take off or what? Sean, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Margus. Hello, everyone. Come on, hello! You're just too quiet, guys. We are having fun here. So, thank you, Mauris and the team, for having us here. I was kind of surprised that we are kind of one of the best Baltic startups, but that's a good surprise, you know. And I do not want to pitch you about the product because I think we are working in a pretty boring area of corporate training in e-learning, but that's I would say why it is exciting. But I want to tell like a short story of where we are and how we got there, and maybe share some mistakes, because things that we did right not always will help you, because they won't work in your way, in your project the way it worked for us. But mistakes definitely will lead you to the same painful stuff. But what we do, you know how pilots are trained, like airplane pilots, right? So they get a bunch of theory, and then before they are flying real plane with real people, they are placed in a simulated environment where they can crash as many planes as they can before they actually got to fly you somewhere else, right? And it's how it should work. But why it isn't happening in the corporate training, meaning like training salespeople, customer care, managers, support, whatever. So basically, you take the sales guy, you give him some kind of like PDF, and then next day he should go and sell and screw real deals with real customers. So we solved this problem. We built a tool that allows any company around the world to create a virtual customer, a virtual simulated customer without any design or technical skills. So the result of it works on any platform, on the phone, on the tablet, whatever, you name it. And basically, you as a kind of learning and development specialist, you can branch scenario of your simulation, and like your employee or the learner goes one way or another, faces consequences of his choices, and faces the result. You are poor result, or you're good, you kind of failed, or you succeeded. And so we started like 3 years ago. In 2014, we started selling from day one, and it was a good thing and bad thing. I tell you why it was a bad thing. And since then, we are growing at like 3-4x each year. Last year, we closed with 300K in revenue. This year, we are planning to get to at least $1 million. But the biggest thing that like more than 90% of our customers are from US, Australia, New Zealand, UK, and kind of we're not selling anything, I think, in the Baltics. We have Air Baltic as one of our customers. So I think that's the only customer we have here. But other customers like PricewaterhouseCoopers, Barnes & Noble, Pearson, Slack, Google, Starbucks. So many big names are already using that and paying. So, for example, PricewaterhouseCoopers, as we speak, training like 8,000 people, like senior auditors throughout the US in different locations, in different sessions using Branchtrack. And why they do that? It's pretty simple, because they can reduce cost for up to 40% for training and increase, boost KPIs they measure up to 30%. So just imagine ROI for just like purchasing software and just building stuff with the software. And yeah, so we are closing to 30K in MRR, all those like blah, 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 interesting stuff, but you are not here to listen about that stuff. So we did a lot of mistakes, small ones, big ones. So I want to share 4 of them that I think most crucial ones. So the first one, the wrong pricing. We started pricing our service at like $19 per month. And it was like, OK, we start selling for $19 per month. And then we understood, what the heck? Our customers they don't care if it's 90 or 90.90 or it's like 190.90. So after selling for 1 year, we tripled the price and made it annual only. So our like average ticket right now for the first sale is $4,200, but it was like around $200 like 2 years ago. Second thing, too much focus on product. It's a problem for all the Baltics because we all love building products and we can build great products, but we don't have any idea how to sell it. And we were focused on product, we were like launching new features, et cetera, but not focusing on customer development. Focus on customer development first, then product comes second. Third thing that we kind of screwed is like marketing and all of the customer acquisition stuff. We actually tried different like exhibitions, roadshows, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't work. Then we tried that and this. And then we kind of understood that, OK, let's try it outbound. Let's outreach to our customers and try to get them to the demo, to convert them, and then to get them to the paying customers. It worked, but it doesn't scale. So then we kind of turn it off. We then tried inbound marketing. And we were trying all this stuff. Just there is no right choice. Try both. But the fourth thing, measure everything. We were not measuring enough since day one, like what customers are doing on the platform, how many projects they create, how many customers, how many players there, how many sessions, et cetera, et cetera. And now we are kind of, after like 3 years, we are rebuilding like a base of what we built. And that's not what you want to do. And yeah, and don't be stressed about any journey. It's a roller coaster, up and down. Just have fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Actually, are you really Latvian? Your name is, and you didn't start the presentation as you know, any of the Baltic startups as well. You kind of energize people. It's not how we do it usually.
Oh, yeah. I'm from Ukraine.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, understood. So tell me what you have learned yourself using your own platform.
What have I learned? I learned how to steal money.
Okay.
You know, we have a demo situation that built with our tool, how you steal money, actually. So you are faced with a situation that you are a hacker, and you got an access to customer's account, so how much do you steal? And making choices, you're actually learning how to become like a criminal. Sorry. I hope kind of not.
And does it work?
Yeah. I haven't got any access to any account, so
okay, but it looks like you are not fundraising, so.
Yeah.
Any questions? One hand? Yes.
He's not from Baltics also, I think.
Yeah. Where are you from? You're asking all the questions.
From Russia? Oh, yeah.
Good.
I broke the mic. Oh, my God.
Oh, you're totally from Russia. No offense, I'm just joking.
Yeah, sorry about that. I feel like I'm the only guy asking questions here, so I have to do,
That's good.
to do my part.
We like you.
Yeah, what I was going to ask is, the customer base you've mentioned is mostly English-speaking countries. Any reason for that? And how do you see yourself going more global on a mid-term basis? There are large economies who could obviously benefit from a similar approach. I don't know, Germany and Japan, for instance.
Yeah, great question. Basically, when we are looking at corporate training market and e-learning market, half of the worldwide market is in US. And it's just like the other, like third is in Europe, but mostly like UK, English speaking, they all speak English. And that's why we are kind of heading there. And the round we are raising now and what we are planning, we're planning to flip to US because like 90% of our customers there. Just market is there.
Any idea why?
You
know, apart from the size of the economy, of course.
Of course, the size of the economy, size of the company is like need of like this e-learning stuff. When you have like thousands of people spread all around the states, and you need to train him in the same way, not having guy flying to like every airport every day. So this geographical size of the company, the company is very distributed. I think that's why they are holding this majority of the market.
So basically, China is your next frontier then?
Yeah, it's growing on an enormous pace at the moment, and we are looking at partners in Asia, definitely.
Cool, thanks.
Yes, one more question.
Be careful with that one.
Thank you. Question is very simple. How did it all start? Was it idea from nowhere, or was there a customer whom you wanted to find special solution?
It started, so the founder and like Sergey, he's CEO, he's not here at the moment. he was in e-learning for 7 years, and he was building this stuff customizably for each big customer, and he saw an opportunity for the product there.
So the idea didn't came from nowhere.
Exactly, it came from the need. Yeah.
Good. Any other questions? Thank you. Yeah, there was one. Sorry, of course, yes.
What do you see the biggest competition right now?
Exactly in what we are doing, we have like 5 competitors, a couple in Europe, couple in US, but they are all installable software, not cloud-based, not like multi-user, so it's all like from 90s. But the biggest competitors are like big 3, including Adobe Captivate. They produce a suite of software packages that kind of you can create this stuff, but you need like to be a designer and developer and whatever else. And like Trivantis Lectora and the third one, Articulate Storyline, like 3 big things that holds like I think 70% of the market at the moment. And we are will bid them in a couple of years if they want to acquire us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Thank you very much. Take care, bye.
By now we are basically all connected. And it sounds either technical, like IoT, or spiritual, pick your theme, but buses are not connected. So RebelRoam helps.
Hi, I'm Henri. I'm CEO and co-founder of RebelRoam. RebelRoam is the internet service provider, or actually, let's say, straight away, Wi-Fi service provider for the global transportation and travel industries. According to a recent study by Skift last year, passengers on board of mass transportation vehicles consider Wi-Fi more important than sex, chocolate, or alcohol. Now, I don't know about that, but Deutsche Bahn has made a study, and they concluded that by improving the Wi-Fi quality of experience on board of ICE trains, they could increase their annual revenue by 100 million euros. So it's 1 million euros per train in a year. So we consider today that probably Wi-Fi is quite important for the passengers. The challenge in the market is that passengers' expectations and what transportation providers are capable of supplying do not match. So RebelRoam is solving that. We have invented the cloud-based or software as a service, which we call RebelRocket, and that improves the passenger quality of Wi-Fi quality of experience by up to 10 times, measured by page load times simply, and also provides traffic and hence also cost reduction. That's a little bit busy slide, but basically what we do is that we filter, we shape, and then accelerate the traffic before it hits the radio networks, where the actual traffic congestion usually happens. Our service is cloud-based. We today operate our mini cloud data centers in Estonia as well as in UK. We have integration with more than 30 mobile operators European-wide, today primarily offering this service in the Baltic and Scandinavian, as well as UK markets across all mobile networks. The service is delivered through the usual SIM card, so there is nothing to configure on the onboard hardware, nothing to add on there. So it's fairly simple for our customers to onboard. It all happens by literally just flipping a virtual switch. The benefits for transportation providers, there are some soft benefits and there are some very hard benefits. So first of all, we take care of all of the legal compliance that companies are facing when offering free public Wi-Fi service. We then are able to reduce mobile broadband costs by up to 80%. This is why some consider us as a company that has a big potential of disrupting telcos. As a result, the passengers are more happier with the transportation service, and this actually creates competitive advantage for our customers. The market we can size based on different criteria, but according to various sources, because of the global urbanization and the rise of megacities, mass transportation will actually double over the next couple of years, hitting 460 billion journeys made by 2022. By another survey, we can conclude that the growth that is forecasted in the public Wi-Fi hotspot market is also massive. And part of that growth will be from bigger penetration of Wi-Fi in the moving vehicles. We entered the market 1 year ago. Before that, we were building the product. We were coached by both Telia, Startup Wise Guys, Garage 48, and many others in Estonian market specialized in helping greenfield or startup companies. But yeah, 1 year ago, we started to onboard customers, and since then, we have grown this business by the date to have valid contracts for the next 12 months in excess of 800,000 euros. I believe that next year, if Mauris will invite me, and if it happens again that no one else shows up, like this year, I can report that we have added one more zero to that revenue figure. There are a bunch of customers with whom we are working. Closest in this region today are the Estonian passenger train operator Elron, as well as Lux Express, Sebe, Simple Express, who operate in the Baltic market, the coach companies. And we have, at the moment, more than 16 customers in 6 European countries. The business model is that we do a little bit of everything, as is usual in this business. Sometimes we need to supply hardware, sometimes we need to supply connectivity. However, our main focus is on the RebelRocket cloud-based SaaS service. The roadmap is, I believe, pretty similar to what every startup dreams about. However, I think by the end of summer, we will be, besides UK and Baltic countries and Scandinavia, where we operate actively today, also in Germany as well as in Italy. Next year, the plan is to go already outside of Europe. We see our key growth target markets in Latin America and Southeast Asia, where we believe that by 2019, or by the end of 2019, we could be the leading company in our market. So far, until I think 4 weeks ago, the company was run by 4 co-founders solely. Since then, we have now hired 5 more employees. So today, I'm happy to report that our team is 9 people strong and keeps growing. We have also investor on board, Startup Wise Guys, with 8% stake. And I really don't know what to tell you more about the company, but I hope that your questions will relieve something insightful. Thank you.
Thank you, Henri. Thank you for bringing us Wi-Fi, which seems to be more important now than something that was basis of evolution so far. So
you're welcome.
Yeah. So you know, one part of your business is kind of telecoms, and they are kind of historically known as the most terrible partners to work with. They are slow and they don't move fast, and
they still are.
They still are.
Yeah.
So how do you manage them?
Well, you can't manage them.
Okay. But what do you do?
You have to blend in. I think that's the key secret. What we have seen that works quite well. And what is also important is persistence. So initial resistance can be overcome by being persistent.
Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm curious for the airline travelers, what has been the response from the airline industry?
We haven't asked any response from the airline industry. However, I was last month on a quite a long journey in Sweden, where I did use planes, both domestic and international. I was in 3 different airports 7 or 8 times during the 3 days journey. I used trains. I used taxi, but there was no Taxify, I'm sorry to say. So what I saw, was something was very interesting in Sweden, that all airports or major airports seem to be monopolized by Swedavia, and they have these huge billboards in the airport, which is advertising free Wi-Fi, limited to 3 hours and 100 megabytes. And I was really thinking that, wow, why is that so? They should be capable of serving their customers better. And so it happened over the 3 days period. I managed to fairly quickly kill all of my available limit, and they didn't renew it, so I was out of Wi-Fi. I then took a plane from Norwegian, and they had awesome free Wi-Fi service. Did you know that Norwegian was voted both in 2014 and 2015 as an airline of the year, just because they are offering free Wi-Fi?
Simple, right?
Yeah. And then, I took some other airlines which didn't have any Wi-Fi at all. I've been flying with Finnair, who charges for the Wi-Fi. We have been talking to our customers, and their basic understanding is that this is like air. You can't really charge for it. Yeah? So the reason why they have to charge for it is the excess cost, and where RebelRoam comes in and can also help airlines or suppliers of airline Wi-Fi or internet is massively reducing it.
Any other questions? Yes, one hand up, and then our legendary guy in red after that.
I know the guy in red.
Okay. Good. One back there first.
Yeah. Question about the US market. Are you guys planning on trying to grow there as well?
Well, to be honest, there is not much mass transportation in the US market, so it wouldn't be our first choice. However, we today have existing customers who actively push us hard so that they could also start to use our service in United States of America, if that was your question. Yes?
One question here, and then follow up there. You are warming up. Wi-Fi seems to be really important.
Hey, Henri, I think you have to update the office address, because it still says endless 16 on the last slide, and you're not there anymore, apparently. But that's not my question. My question was kind of going back to the idea of autonomous vehicles and ride-sharing and all that stuff. So with taxis kind of becoming the next mode of mass transportation, how do you think RebelRoam could fit into that niche, if at all?
I don't see today immediate revenue opportunities for us in that space. However, I think that the number of cars on the road probably will and should decrease. So that's the result of it. Yeah? And the free time that people will have, because they don't have to steer the vehicle, must be somehow spent. So today's technologies are quite relevant for that, and I believe people who can afford ride sharing probably are not our target demographics. But yeah, if this did answer you, probably I would say no thanks.
Thank you. And final question.
Hi.
Hi.
So when you're entering the Asian market, so do you see India as your potential market? And if yes, do you consider Google as your competitor? And if that is also yes, then how do you compete with them?
Yeah. So, all those big companies, Google, Facebook, did you know Elon Musk is planning actually to launch a massive 4,000 satellites low Earth orbit constellation of Wi-Fi in the sky? So all those big names I will consider as a valid exit strategy for RebelRoam. Now, regarding India, India is a massive country, right? You have 600,000 villages. You have more than 1 billion citizens, most of them living under the official poverty level, if the statistics are right, which they often ain't, right? We today employ Chinese Barak and naturally born Indian, and we have quite good insight into how the Indian market works. We definitely are eyeing it. We don't know how to overcome the things which are typically challenging for the Nordic companies like bribery, for example. So there are roadblocks which are there, which we will see if we are able to overcome.
Good. By the way, talking about Elon Musk, do you know anything that he's not planning to do? But okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next one is from Latvia, company called SonarWorks. And if you have not tried SonarWorks, you have not listened to music before. I promise you. Right?
Right. It seems like we are getting back to basics of human needs, and our story is about another one of those basic needs, which is music. Before I begin, can you please take your eyes off the smartphone and look at your neighbor? Can you please smile while you look at your neighbor? So now you realize what our products do for the customers. But let me start with stepping a bit back. So what you see in the image there is a recording studio, and that's a work process in the recording studio. In this instance, they're working on a soundtrack for a movie. So it takes engineers, producers, artists to sometimes work for weeks in order to produce a very specific artistic vision that is put into music. Now, the end result of that process is a music file that's then distributed through channels like iTunes or Spotify to reach you as a customer. You then take gadgets like these, headphones, and listen to that music. Even though music industry has gone a long way since the beginning, there are still large problems remaining. At the onset of the digital age, you had a big problem with file quality. So, in essence, some part of that original message was lost simply because the information was not there in the file anymore when you got it as a consumer. That problem is now actually solved. File quality has gone so good that most people don't notice the difference and don't frankly care. So there has been pushes in the industry for even higher resolution files, but that's quite pointless because they're not solving a problem that's actually in the industry. So the real problem that is remaining is with the headphones. And the problem is that all of these many headphones that we have around, they all sound different, and they all sound different than what it was in this original recording studio. So when you listen back to the music, you don't actually hear what was made during that laborious process when they actually made the content. So some of you might think, hey, I might actually get like really expensive good headphones, and the truth is that you can't get close to what the original was because it's impossible to make such headphones physically. We have developed a solution for that. We have a technology that can digitally correct for headphone problems, and we can make any headphone sound just as the studio originally sounded. And it's all a digital software process. So, and we call this technology TrueFi. Now, we already did a consumer pilot with this technology. We had a pilot project with an American rock group band called Faith No More. And they released their new single on the web and allowed the fans to come and listen to that song. And they had a choice of, they could A/B test back and forth the original file and the one with the TrueFi technology. So what we discovered was that 89% of the customers strongly preferred the TrueFi experience. And we have now also found that it's actually getting addictive. Like when you give people this type of experience and then after 2 weeks take it away, they actually become frustrated. So in a few months' time, we'll be launching this new technology to the consumer market to deliver each one of you a truly authentic music experience, one that you have actually never before experienced unless you have been in those studios at the time when this process happened of actually recording the music. We see this as a 1 billion revenue opportunity, so we are going to be operating in a space of an estimated 2.6 billion of premium music experiences, and in addition to that, a 2 billion technology licensing market. So we are going to take a part of that market, and we plan to reach 100 million customers in nearest 3 years. Our journey, however, does not begin here. It began 2.5 years back when we packaged that technology as a product line for professionals, and we launched it for the recording studio market. So that's a market of about 2 million recording studios globally. So 3 months since launch, the most influential magazine in the industry put us on a cover and said "Revolution" in big letters. And that was a big boost for us. So we have been growing now in the professional segment for 2.5 years. We made 1 million in revenue last year, and we plan to now more than double that this year. We are altogether now at 15,000 recording studios as our paying customers. And out of those, we have 13 Grammy Award-winning engineers that are actually endorsing our product for free. So for those who don't know, Grammys in music is the same as Oscars in films. Our technology was also used lately in the music production for Rio Olympic Games. These are just some of the artists that our clients are working with. And to wrap it all up, so we are now coming from a very strong base in the professional music industry, and now delivering a truly authentic music experience to the end consumer. So in a few months, you'll be all able to experience that on your phones. So, and I really hope you're going to like it and get addicted to it. Thanks.
So your music basically makes, your technology makes music so much better that, you know, all humankind deserves to have it in their ears. So what has been so far the biggest kind of bottleneck on giving it out all?
The thing that we're going to be doing right away is we're going to be addressing the audiophile market, which is a market we can address directly because people are so eager in that market to get new stuff that they're actually coming and paying to us directly. Now, when we want to go to a general consumer market, we have to go through large music consumer platforms like Spotify, Google, Apple, all these big companies. So they are not super fast into making radical decisions about changing core technologies.
Radical decisions making consumer experience better.
Yeah.
So is it possible to try the demos?
Yeah.
If anyone would like to, any guidance on that?
So I have the headphones with me, so if you want to try it,
later
please do approach me.
Yeah. Any questions? Yes, here is one. And there is one.
So yeah, sorry I didn't quite catch this. So it makes the sound, it makes the music sound better on any headphones, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Easy answer. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry?
Sounding songs through your own own service, like in a couple of weeks.
So we'll have our own service where you'll be able to listen to music. For instance, on a computer, it will work with everything that comes out of the computer. So you'll be able to actually continue listening to Spotify on your computer, but it's all going to be channeled through our technology, so you'll be able to experience it. On the mobile phone, it's a bit more difficult, so we have to build our own music app, which we did. So you will be able to experience that. However, I don't expect that you'll necessarily switch from Spotify because it has its own competitive advantages. But we are now working on with Spotify to integrate this technology into their service.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
One question back there.
Actually, I have two questions because I'm from the States and I've been in the independent music industry there. In the recording process, as your song is getting mastered and mixed and mastered, you listen to the song through your car stereo, through your stereo in your living room, through your headphones. How do you guys define the true studio sound? Like which method of listening is correct, right? And being from the States, we spend most of our time listening to music in the car. So is this only for headphones, or is it available to listen to, or will it change the experience in the car as well?
So the last one is an easier question. So it applies to everything. I just was talking about headphones because it's the most meaningful market these days. It applies to speakers, cars, very much so to VR, because virtual reality is all about realism, and this technology can very much create that realism, so that when you listen to the sound, your mind just goes believing that it's totally real. So it applies to all the multimedia sectors that have sound involved. Now, the first question, I'm now trying to figure out how to answer it in a KISS format, and it's not a simple question. So we've been now working with the recording studios. So basically, we have the data about how they work from now 15,000 recording studios. So we eventually find out what the current format, the right reference format is by basically asking these 15,000 studios and just collecting all the data. Eventually, which is the next step, we are going to launch a technology that will allow each engineer to define a reference specifically for that song. So you will eventually have each song sounding specifically in a different way as originally intended. But that's still into coming.
Good. Thank you. And really, after this lineup, to try it out, it really sounds good. So, and the last company from Best of Baltics, on-demand printing and drop shipping for e-commerce stores. And the company has been part of 500 startups accelerator in San Francisco, Printify. So are you building up a unicorn from t-shirts, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm very honored to be here. My name is James, and I'm the CEO of Printify. Printify provides on-demand printing and fulfillment for any brand. It's a $20 billion market of on-demand printed merchandise for e-commerce, and it's growing 30% year over year because of two factors. First, businesses are selling online more and more, and number two, technological development is enabling a shift from printing large quantities to printing one-of-a-kind item at low cost. And it's not only t-shirts, it's also home decor products, as well as all over printed products. And just today, we were talking outside with somebody offering to print on-demand couches. So, and even more interestingly, is that the market is shifting from traditional screen printing to printing textile products with digital printers. And this market will grow to $80 billion in the next 8 years. Our customers are e-commerce shops. An example customer would be a rock band selling t-shirts online. And Printify automizes their product printing and drop shipping. Imagine a dedicated fan places an order for a t-shirt. Next, we automatically receive requests to produce the product. Our system then sends print-ready files and order details to a manufacturer who prints the product and drop ships it directly to the end consumer with the rock band's branding on it. Our unique solution is a transparent network connecting large-scale manufacturers and e-commerce brands selling products online. And when I say large-scale, I mean print-on-demand companies with production capacity over $100 million that are our production partners. We graduated from 500 Startups Accelerator program in San Francisco. We are growing 32% months over months, and I'm happy to share with you that this month we have hit $1 million in turnover since we launched. And we are just getting started. We have a great, hardworking team in Riga, Latvia that enables us to maintain low costs while we are catering to the US market. And apart from our team in Riga, we have a great advisory board in San Francisco. And next, let me tell you about our future. Do you want to hear about our future? When I say do you, you say yes. Do you? We are going to build real-time exchange for print-on-demand products. Imagine you are a store owner and you make a sale online. Your store is connected to our print-on-demand network. The manufacturer located the closest to the delivery destination, offering the best price and the quickest order delivery, will receive the order. So your customers will get the goods quicker, while you will maximize your profit, all thanks to Printify. Come join us as an investor, and let's change the print-on-demand industry forever together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I only now noticed that we are heavily over time, and the organizers said, no more questions, but I found a hack.
Okay.
You could ask one question from yourself.
One question that I was told that could be asked first is how are we different from the companies that manufacture or from our competitors? And we do not print anything ourselves. We are a platform. And the simple comparison for an investor would be you can either invest in a local taxi company who buys the cars and employs the car drivers, or you can invest in Uber or Taxify. So this is the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Printify. Thank you all for staying with us. Sorry for, going over time, but when pests are talking, you cannot stop. So
thinking, I hope you're as kind a VC with allocating the funds as you are allocating the time today.
We are not.
You're not?
Yeah,
OK.
Yeah. We're kind this time.
Well, nevertheless, thank you so much, Margus.
Thank you. Thank you.